Amon clan make a return in Yakuza Kiwami 2 in the form of 4 super bosses at the end of the game. They are unlocked by completing all the sub-stories in the main game. The difference with Kiwami 2 and the other games is that you play as only Kiryu and you have to beat all 4 Amons. Not at once, mind you, but still it's a little twist than what it was before. Here I'll go over all the basic setup you would need for the Amon fights, as well as basic tips and the movesets of each of the Amons. Strategies, what you might want to do at the start of the fight, what you might want to do, I don't know, when they're getting low on health, and just general tips to beat them. Without further ado, let's get going. After completing all the sub-stories, you'll notice there's a little speech bubble out in one of the car parks or the parking lot in Kamurocho. This will be your start to the Kazuya Amon fight. Before the fight begins, you want to make sure you have some decent equipment with you. So if you've completed a lot of the bouncer missions, you might unlock the dragon binding, perhaps maybe even some of the dragon gems you can get from the gambling den down in the hotels district. Essentially what you're aiming for is a high defense value kind of equipment based loadout. You can go for attack or heat, but I wouldn't really recommend either because, well, you only have 1 health bar, so you may as well make the most of it. Yes, some of their attacks do deal a lot of damage, but you'd better want that defense just in case you will be able to block an attack that might just save your life. You want to make sure to have maxed out stats, battle skills, heat actions, and life skills. Life skills don't really matter, so just the first 3. You also want to make sure you have full on stacked up your inventory of healing items, stamina and real, Turnia, everything needs to be top-notch stacked. Once you feel prepared and confident, I'd recommend making a save right before the fight so you don't have to walk like 40 years just to get there, and walk up to Kazuya and he'll give you a little lesson. He'll tell you how he's been hired to kill you, and then the fight will start. Kazuya wields 2 massive axes that he kind of uses as Kali sticks. At first they don't deal much damage, but if he can get a combo on you, it will be quite devastating. The best bet for this fight is just going to extreme heat mode and finding different objects you can use for heat actions. As long as you are in extreme heat mode, you cannot die. Even if your health bar is at 0, you won't die. The only problem is that your heat will drain faster if you have no health. You can find a can to smash his head in at one of the sides of the parking lot. You can also bring weapons. Weapons will do you wonders because for some reason heat actions in this game are just straight up broken. You can hit him with a lightsaber and it will just do a massive amount of damage. Once you get into heat mode, he'll do a little more damage and his combos will be a lot faster. One good thing about Kazuya though is that his openings are really wide, making the tiger drop really easy on him. I don't know why, but with the Dragon Engine games, the tiger drop is just so much harder to hit than the older ones. I don't know if it's just me, but it is a little more tricky. After a couple heat actions, some tiger drops, some that, can't really get too many combos in, so try not to do that. He will get this barrier and he'll go into kind of an extreme heat mode of sorts. His attacks will do even more damage and the barrier around him will reduce damage dealt by a significant amount. Heat actions will be like softened, you can't grab him when he has a barrier, and most of your basic combos will do little to no damage. Even a tiger drop will deal about half, maybe less of its total output. It's best to leave this barrier until it runs out, which is about 60 seconds, or if you think you can brute force your way, just try and get them. Again, extreme heat action kind of combo heat actions will definitely work. You know, this little kick that you can do, just a standing kick into that flurry heat action, is just so powerful for some reason. It could probably deal without the barrier. This fight isn't necessarily too tricky, it's just that some of his moves might catch you off guard. Once you've knocked him down, that's the first Amon complete, and the next one will be waiting for you right next to Serena. After defeating Kazuya, Jiro will appear right next to Bar Serena. Premise is the same. Once you're ready, full health, full decked out loadout, go back to him, start the fight. Jiro is different in that he uses an SMG instead of something like Kali sticks or axes or just his fists. At the beginning part, if you have the Blesswood armor, this would definitely help because it blocks the bullets. However, it doesn't block all the damage. Eventually, your guard will break and some bullets will slip through. Weapon heat actions and grab heat actions are really useful because he doesn't really have too many counters for grabs. Yeah, if you grab him multiple times, he's gonna not let you do it anymore, but At the start, he's not too difficult. Then after a couple of health bars, he'll start shooting much quicker, and his gun will generally shoot more bullets than it would before. This means getting caught out in a combo will be an almost instant game over, if not maybe just a lot of health being hit down the drain. Here is when combos are really punishing, because he'll usually throw a flashbang or roll backwards and then hit a full combo on you, with his bullets of course, and then you would just be forced to restart the fight. This is where extreme heat is also best useful for, especially when he gets in a heat mode, because usually if he shoots you a bunch of times, sometimes you can survive that if you're in extreme heat, because it'll just last barely long enough to keep you up. And a neat thing with it is that if you taunt, you get all your heat back with the boost taunt upgrade, I believe. Essentially, if you can circle around the stairs with the taunt and then get into extreme heat, you should be able to get at least 1 or 2 heat actions in as well. After Jiro gets into low health while in heat mode, he will get a barrier just like Kazuya, so you could either wait it out or you could just immediately flurry him. I'd say it's best to wait this one out because his gun is pretty devastating, especially when he's really low on health. Even after the barrier, even if he's on 1 health bar left, he will still basically melt you. Especially since this fight is kind of cramped, you don't really have much cover or much pickup heat actions. So grabbing him at full health to do Essence of Might or slamming him against the wall should be your best bets. And weapons as well, of course. It is still vital to have the Blessed Wood armor for this fight, just in case you have to block some hits if you're not focusing on it. But once he goes down, that's Jiro down, there's still 2 more to go. After Jiro comes Sango. Sango Amon will wait in Theatre Square, and just like the other 2, you walk up to him, he'll give you a bit of dialogue, then the fight will start. I immediately recommend performing Essence of Might from behind because this attack will do a bunch of damage. Sango is also pretty unique in the sense that he has a giant rocket launcher instead of a gun or just his fists. This rocket launcher is extremely punishing. Essentially, if he blocks more than 2 hits, he will just use that rocket launcher and it'll devastate you. If he blocks a kick, it's basically game over for you. You'll have to restart. In the beginning of the fight, his rocket launcher only puts out maybe 1 or 2 rockets at a time. The lower his health gets, the more rockets, until essentially he puts out a salvo of rockets which will delete your health bar. You can't guard against him, you can't block him, you can't do anything against him. Just dodge. This is why bringing 3 powerful weapons will basically make this fight a break. Essence of Might will take away maybe 2 health bars, grabbing maybe a trash can or a bike will also take away another 2 health bars, and each weapon you bring should aim to bring out 2 health bars as well. Essentially, by the end of those heat actions, you'll be left with maybe 2-3 health bars to kill off Sango. Now, during this last couple phases, when he's in heat mode and he's got his little barrier, he'll kind of use his rocket launcher as a tonfa. He'll be swinging it around violently, and if he gets a hit on you too many times where it kind of stuns you out, he'll use his rocket launcher, salvo, you're dead. The good thing about this though is that you can tiger drop it because it is pretty easy to tiger drop. You just wait for the longest hit, tiger drop it, repeat. After a while his barrier will go down and you'll be able to kill him easier. Just make sure not to get caught out in a combo because if he blocks a kick or if he blocks 2 punches, just say goodbye, just restart at that point. There's no point. Sango is probably the easiest if you know the strategy for him. So once he goes down, just 1 more left. Once Sango is defeated, a speech bubble will appear near where Komaki spawns in the game. This will be in the little kind of pocket area in the champion district. Going there, you'll find Komaki knocked out and he'll give you a little dialogue about someone taking his shit and you need to get it back. After your little yap sesh is over, the final fight will commence. A blue bubble will spawn in the Millennium Tower. Going to the bottom of it, you'll find Jo Amon standing there menacingly. He'll give you the same old story about how his only purpose in life is defeating you, about how he's training in some Siberian desert or something. And after he's done, the fight will start. Jo has 4 phases to his fight. His first phase, he simply just has his normal sword, which does a mediocre amount of damage. For this, it is better to use your weaker heat actions, just to, get his health out the way. It's not too tricky the first phase. It can be a little punishing at times, but it's not too big of a problem. Afterwards, his sword will start to glow blue, kind of like a lightsaber. Now this is when the fight gets a little trickier. His sword does more damage, his combos will be quicker, and he'll gain a couple new moves. In this phase, I highly recommend using very high damage heat actions, such as the knee flurry or maybe sometimes weapon heat actions. This is because the next phase is a little bullshit. If you don't do enough heat actions before he gets to his red saber, you will be fucked. Essentially, this red saber does way too much damage. I'm not kidding. If you're on full health and you're not in extreme heat mode, you will die by one hit. It is a one-hit sword. Extreme heat basically carries it, so try and do as many heat actions as you can before he gets there. If you can't, you best try. If you ever need to regain heat quickly without using drinks, you can always run around one of the elevators and just, you know, pop a little taunt. So by holding the stance button and then just pressing the down button on the D-pad, you should gain all your heat back. The only problem is you have to maintain some distance between you and Jo, just so that, you know, if you go into extreme heat, he won't basically annihilate you. The red sword is usually what takes out most people because it is really punishing. If you can risk it, obviously, just to get that extra heat action to get him off it. If you fail, it's not really much you can do or I can do because it really is kind of based on luck. After his red sword phase, he will get both his blue and his red sword. Here, he's not as punishing, yet he's still a little bullshit. Essentially, each sword by itself doesn't do too much damage, but his combos are really quick, meaning that you can get locked into a combo and annihilated. This is when it's best to save up your extreme heat actions where it's just from your light combo or some hyper damaging heat actions that you've saved up from before. He will also get this barrier when he gets to this phase, and this barrier has no time limit, meaning that all your damage is significantly nullified, so it's best to save your heat actions for this moment specifically. It can be infuriating if you get him to his last health bars and he hits you with like one of these spinning combos and it takes away all your health, you have to restart. I get it, it's happened to me before, but sometimes you just gotta power through it. If you do eventually manage to knock him down, you'll gain a bunch of experience points which you probably can't use because you have all the skills. He'll give you a little yap session and then you unlock the Book of Ultimate Secrets. This essentially is just a heat action you can do, essentially the ultimate essence of Dragon or whatever it is, from Yakuza 0 and Kiwami, except I don't really know how strong it is because I'm lazy. So yeah, that's all Amons. If you feel like you'd like this video, like, subscribe, check out my Twitch, I do some streams down there, so yeah, you should do that. Anyway, see you in the next one.